Hello everyone, my name is Alex. I'm a 2000 rated over-the-board chess player, and in this series we're going from 1500 to 2000 ELO in chess.com rapid games, where I'll be explaining my thought process as best as I can for your education and entertainment. Today we have another Caro Kann, which I am of course very happy to see. I know a lot of you play the Caro Kann yourself, and I know a lot of you probably don't play the Caro Kann, and you should start playing the Caro Kann, and this will hopefully be a good I suppose, advertisement for the Caro Kann if all goes to plan. So, what can white do here? White can take, white can push, white can defend the pawn. There's several moves to defend the pawn. White can also play f3 to defend the pawn, known as the fantasy variation. At this sort of rating range, a lot of people go for the advanced. Yeah, and my opponent goes for the advanced. In previous videos, I have recommended the move c5, which I initially learned from a Gotham chess course that I took a long time ago. And it's fine, but more and more I've been playing bishop to f5 at the like 2300 blitz level. And I've really been enjoying bishop f5. It is just so simple. It's really simple. Like, we're just going to play e6, lock the pawn chain with the bishop first outside the pawn chain. And then we're going to go c5 eventually, and break the center and shift some play onto the queen side. My opponent plays the short variation with knight f3, bishop e2. I believe this is actually meant to be quite an aggressive variation, despite the fact that it looks not aggressive whatsoever. My question is, can we play the immediate c5? Is there any reason we can't play that? I don't think so. I don't see a reason why we can't play this. And the whole point of c5, which, by the way, some of you lower-rated players who play the Caro Kann, I think, based off of some comments that I've seen, you don't like playing c5 because you're thinking, oh, I'm ruining my really solid pawn structure. Dude, I'm telling you, this pawn chain is going nowhere. And you have to play c5, because if you don't play c5, you have no play in the center. You need to break the center, and it utilizes this pawn chain. c5 is the follow-up to the creation of this pawn chain with e6, right? Because you solidify the d5 pawn, which the c pawn was previously defending. The pressure has been taken off of the d pawn because white has pushed the move e5. So d5 is under no pressure. And now we need to reassign the c pawn to attacking white's center rather than just sitting around doing nothing, right? So my opponent castles. Okay. How should we continue our development? h5 looks natural, preparing something like knight to h6, potentially. h6 also looks natural. I think knight ge7 is a move, but I'm slightly... I don't really want to allow knight to h4, because my queen would be disconnected from the h4 square. So maybe h6, so that if knight h4 in the future, I can always go bishop to h7. h6 is a very common move in the Caro Kann to give the bishop an escape square. c4, by the way, makes no sense because we take the pressure off of white's center, which white would be very happy with. So we do not want to play c4 unless we have a very good reason. I feel like taking is a bit premature because white is ahead in development. So we probably don't want to clarify the situation in the center just yet. We need to probably get castled. Now, I think h6 is the move I'm going to go for to give the bishop a way out, which, you know, you could argue is a waste of time because I need to be developing my pieces, which in some ways is true. Okay, bishop e3. Maybe now I should take because he's threatening to just win a pawn. We could consider queen b6, so that if take, we can do this. Queen b6, let's say knight b to d2. I don't think I'm really going to grab this because rook b1 and rook b7 looks... Oh no, there's no rook b1. What am I on about? We control that square. So probably queen b6, right? That looks natural. Because the point is the bishop is no longer defending the b2 square. And queen b6 is not only attacking b2, it's also attacking d4, and it's defending c5. So it's a very common move in the Caro, and one that you definitely want to remember. And because I'm so used to not playing this bishop f5 line, I often have to remember the fact that my bishop actually is controlling the b1 square to stop any rook b1 ideas. Okay, what's stopping me from taking? What's actually preventing that? There's no bishop d3 to intercept my bishop at any point. Maybe you want to take on c5? But can't I just take on c3? At the very least? Maybe I can take first? If I don't take, then I assume knight b3 is coming to block my queen and put more pressure on c5, which would force me to make a decision. So I feel like I have to go for this if I'm going to try to claim any advantage here. I don't know. I don't see White's plan. I don't see it. This diagonal is fine because we've got a knight on c6. You can't play bishop b5. We control that square. Queen to a4, I don't think does anything. Knight h4. This is slightly confusing. I mean, I can go bishop h7. I could also play bishop to c2, attacking the queen. And let's say queen e1, avoiding a queen trade. I mean, I could pick up this pawn, or I could just play a move like c4, locking things up, which now makes sense because we're up a pawn. Or I could take even if I really wanted to, but I probably want to play c4. I don't see an issue with this move. Let's play it. You still don't have rook b1, that's the whole point. So you can't generate counterplay on the b file, which would otherwise be very scary. Like, let's say, if we go back, let's say our bishop was on g4, then I would not be playing queen b2 under any circumstances, because rook b1, and then you take here. Yeah, but now I just get a queen trade. And then I just retreat the bishop back to h7. Probably. I suppose you can take on c5 and win back the pawn. But then I take on e5. Yeah, so now I just go c4. And I lock it all up. Which, by the way, means that this bishop is horrific. Because it just can't do anything. Okay, yeah, no. This is very desperate from White. This is complete desperation. White has nothing. White has absolutely nothing. We're up, what, a piece for a pawn now? Let's go knight g to e7. We don't want d5 to come with any problems, because that's White's only good pawn break here. Dude. The Caro Kann. The Caro Kann. What more do I need to say? What more do I need to say? This looks pretty damn nice. Although I suppose knight c4. So maybe just knight to d5, attacking the bishop. Let's say bishop d2. C4 d5 is on the way. No, I'm going to do this. Because I want to go bishop to a3, attacking the rook and developing with tempo so I can get castled ASAP. That's the plan. Because once I get castled and I bring my rooks into the game, then it's just GG. Okay, trading is what we love to see. I'm thinking bishop to e4, knight back. If bishop to a3 now, there's rook c3 counter-attacking. If take, then I'm slightly concerned about d5 at some point, maybe immediately. Or maybe not immediately, because maybe knight a5 is annoying for White. Ooh, we could set a trap. Because there's a bishop to d3. We can just play bishop d3 straight away. Bishop d3. cd5. Bishop f1. Here. I feel like he's getting a little bit too much. So maybe we should take first. And if rook takes, then this. If here. You still can't really take on c4 with the rook after I move my knight anyway, because I'll just play bishop d3. So I think we should take. Yeah, and now we just fork the rooks. And we're going to be up a rook for a pawn at the end of the line, because we're already up a piece for a pawn. And now we're going to be winning an exchange. And yeah, white is running out of material. Let's attack the rook and lock the bishop in with a move like a5. A5, a3. Slightly annoying. So, how do we want to continue? Let's be accurate here. Let's be accurate. I don't really want to give away this pawn for no reason. Let's say b6 maybe. Well, then there's d5, and my bishop can't defend my... my knight can't defend the bishop. So a5, a3, bishop e7, rook b7. Then I can play bishop a3, and then I have a passed a pawn. So let's do that. And if you don't play a3... I mean, if you play a3, I can actually play a4 as well. Okay, yeah, you can do that as well. So knight e7. I don't see an issue with that. Wait, am I getting my bishop trapped by taking away the e7 square? I don't know. This is fine, though. Play knight d5, going after this. Even if my bishop was trapped, I wasn't particularly concerned because I'm up so much material. Of course, we'll check it all with the engine after the game. My opponent is playing so quickly for somebody with a horrific position. A4. Rook d3. Yeah, I think I like that. If take, then take, of course. If the rook moves somewhere else on the b file, then I can take on a3, which is why I'm calculating rook to d3. And then I'm going to take the bishop. I'm not concerned about this pawn, because I just stop it. And then I'm just going to go bishop c5, take away the d4 square from the knight, and then just play something like b6. So now the b pawn is secure. Okay, well now we'll just play a very simple pawn g6 to stop the knight coming in. Okay, not sure what that does. We could do this and pick up the pawn. I think king d7 is the easier move, though, because we're stopping e6 completely. Yeah, well, nah, we can just defend. There's no need to do anything weird. Let's just play rook to f8. Again, I'm not going to play g5 and allow the knight into the game. I'm going to leave the knight out there, where it currently has no squares to go to. Okay. How are you going to meet this? How are you defending e5? Yeah, you can't. My opponent literally just isn't spending any time. Oh my god. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really, really appreciate it. I don't understand this, but okay. Let's just take more pawns. And then, of course, we're not going to get our bishop pinned and taken with e5. We're just going to move the king and stop this king invading, and we're up so much material. Let's deliver a check. Trying to force one of these pawns through. Yeah, well, that's just a free pawn. Thank you kindly. That doesn't really do anything. Then our bishop's under attack, so we'll just drop it back. Or we could deliver a check. Yeah, I want to deliver a check first. So then we can move with check. If king to e3, probably bishop c5 pinning the knight. And if not, then we just push. There's no knight c2 because our rook controls that square. And I'm just going to push the pawn through. There's no need to do anything complicated. I'm sure moves like rook to d8 are very good here. Deliver a check. Now the knight has taken its eyes off of the c2 square. and then just come back and force a trade of some form. There's no rook d6 check, because my bishop controls that square. And now, yeah, we trade off another piece, which is fantastic. King c2, I mean, yeah, it's just completely game over. And my opponent eventually resigns. So, the Caro Kann is pretty easy. I mean, that was a pretty easy game. We just picked up a pawn on b2, traded the queens, and then my opponent just self-destructed. Pretty much. And I mean, he's a 1750 rated player. He's better than probably 70% of you watching. And he just crumbled. The Caro Kann is goated. Let's jump into the analysis. Okay, so 84.3% accuracy for my opponent, 91.5 for us. Let's jump into it. So, e4, c6, d4, d5, and e5. Now, I used to play c5 here, and I still occasionally do. But some of these lines, whilst some of these lines are really fun for black, some of them are not so fun. And I've been having much better success with bishop to f5. Even against things like the bayonet attack, I'm starting to figure out some important concepts, one of which I'll be putting on my Patreon after I finish recording this video, which I do have a Patreon if you want to support the channel, by the way. And, you know, there's a few intricacies in some of these lines where, like, you can get hit with moves like, I think it's e3, e6 in this position, can be kind of scary. And although the engine calls it a mistake, it can be scary. But there's ways to, there's ways to survive in these positions. But my opponent doesn't go for any of that. He goes knight to f3, which is deceivingly aggressive in some lines, but my opponent didn't really play it like that. We go e6, bishop e2, and yeah, c5 is the best move. There's just no reason not to play it. And like I said, c5 is the point of the Caro Kann, if in the advanced variation, because there's no pressure on d5 anymore. You want to go c5. And if white tries to put pressure on your center with c4, you can just take. Like, it's fine. In most positions, you can take on c4. With c3, knight c6, applying more pressure. Castles. h6 isn't the best. Better is bishop g6. Really? Okay. What about after bishop e3? What's the point? Okay, queen b6 all the same. What's wrong with h6 then? Why is this suboptimal? Bishop e3, queen b6, which is what we had in the game. What's the difference? Wait, I'm confused. So bishop here, queen here. Let's say knight here. I don't understand what's different. The engine here wants a6. And the position looks very much the same. Let's say here, 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 a6. There's queen b3. But why is that different to my bishop being on b6? I don't know. I don't know. Not gonna lie. Maybe it's because if this knight ends up on d4, it becomes with tempo on the bishop. Maybe that's the point. Anyway, I took on b2, which is the best move. And I was expecting dc5, which is the best response for white. And here you can just kind of play normal moves, knight g to e7, knight b3. I didn't think taking on c3 was wise. It felt like a little bit too much. But this position is perfectly fine. a6, knight f to d4. We don't really want to take and fix the structure. So, I don't know, bishop g6. I suppose that's the point, yeah, is that knight to d4 never comes with tempo. And this looks very reasonable. It's going to be hard to trap my queen. But my opponent went knight h4, which is just a bad move. Now, the engine doesn't like my response of bishop c2. It wants me to take on d4. With the idea being if knight takes f5, then we take on e3, and after knight takes e3, then we go bishop c5. And apparently this is much better, although I don't really understand why we would allow counterplay like this. Yeah, that seems silly to me. While the engine might say it's better, I see no reason to allow the rook into the game like that by trading off my light squared bishop. So instead I went bishop to c2, which is the second best move. So I'm happy with this. Queen c1 surprised me. I was expecting queen e1. The engine thinks that this is completely lost for white, though, after queen takes c3. And if a move like rook c1, then cd4 is the problem. Right. So, because the knight is abandoned this square. So let's say dc5. Okay, d4 is still a problem. Bishop f4, g5. Ah, okay, I get you. So queen c1 has to be played. We take, of course. Rook takes. Bishop h7 is a mistake. Bishop a4 is better. No, that's a lie. Bishop h7 is better. I don't know why it's called it a mistake. Because the engine has reevaluated and believes that bishop h7 is the best move. So, shut up, engine. Knight h2 f3, again, very surprising. I was expecting him to do something like this and at least try to fight back, you know. I don't know, maybe you can give a check and at least try to get a move like knight to e5 in. Apply some pressure. But knight back, and we go c4, which is by far the best move. Like, the second best move is cd4. And watch the evaluation. Yeah. Yeah. c4 is by far the best move, because now white's bishop and knight can't do anything, which is why my opponent sacrifices the knight, because there's nothing. Otherwise, he can't do anything. He can't even use the b file because I control the b1 square. So let's say he plays the best move in this position, which is a4. Bishop a3. If you come here, then bishop b2, and you lose even worse. So let's say rook c to d1, still bishop b2. Let's say knight b1 defending. I can take, rook takes, take. Again, I'm potentially allowing unnecessary counterplay here, so I probably wouldn't even do that. I probably wouldn't do that. Although my bishop might get trapped, so there is that. But I don't know, a move like knight g to e7 looks very reasonable. Rook here, rook, bishop here, here, and now I probably have to take. And let's say rook takes, I just drop my bishop back. This looks so comfortable. Oh yeah, and you still can't play. You still can't put a rook on b1 to create counterplay. And we're up a clean pawn, and the white bishops are useless. So my opponent sacks the knight, which makes sense, but there's just not enough counterplay. We go knight g to e7, bishop b3, knight d5 is the best move, bishop takes, e takes. On c4, I was just going to take on e3 and play bishop a3, and after a move like rook c2, sorry, not rook c2, because the bishop, let's say rook d1, I just wanted to castle. And after d5, I can always play a move like knight to a5 and go after the bishop, and let's say d6. Ooh, scary. Not really. Like, this pawn isn't getting anywhere. Knight d4. Just, I don't know, rook to d1. Rook d8 feels very simple. I don't see how white ever breaks through here. So, my opponent takes ed5, c4, which is the best move. We take, which is inaccurate. The engine wants me to castle. Yeah, I considered this. I think I got spooked by the fact that my knight and my king were lined up, but white can't exploit that. I don't know, something like this, e6 is maybe annoying, with like knight to e5. Realistically though, I mean what, even if you win a pawn by doing this, just king d7, you can double up, and you have no infiltration anyway, because my bishop covers. So, I don't know. I just went for the safer option with dc4. Here I was expecting d5. And I don't know, a move like knight b4 looked pretty good. You can't take because of something like this, or knight takes here. But my opponent gives me an easy ride. And we go bishop b4, rook b3, a5, d5, knight to e7. I thought a3 might be annoying. But then I was going to just sack the bishop and do something like this. I don't know, knight e3, fe3, a4, rook a3. And here, just being up the exchange is incredibly easy because we have the passed a pawn. I don't know, like rook fe8. Let's say you go e6. There's just nothing you can do. Like, the rook is tied down to the defense of the pawn, and then my rook can just dominate his knight. Like, you just run out of play very, very quickly. And then rook b2, knight takes, rook takes, and I'm going to go rook to b3, and you're just going to lose. So my opponent goes d6. We come to d5, a3, a4, rook d3. We just take bishop c5. The engine actually wants me to sack the bishop and go b5, which is quite funny. Like knight d4, b4. We just march down the board. But there's no need for that. Absolutely no need. We can just defend. Knight h4, I just go g6. Again, not necessarily the best move, but it's very easy. Just don't let the knight into the game. e4, king d7, rook f3, rook h2, f8. I did see the best move, which was king e6. I rejected it because I thought, well, I don't know, I can go for this line, but g6 is hanging. Why am I allowing anything like this? The engine says, oh, just allow this, give up the rook, and you're winning anyway. But there's no need. There's no need to allow that. So I just defend, bishop d4, we pick up another pawn, we pick up another pawn. And here it's pretty basic. Like, I kick the king as far away from the pawn as I can, and then just try to facilitate trades. And, I mean, at this point, white is down, what, 2 pawns and a rook. Obviously, it's game over. So yeah, I really don't think we did anything special that game. I think it was pretty elementary. Pretty, like, the whole game, to be honest. But I hope it was very educational for those of you watching, and hopefully can encourage you to try the Caro Kann out for yourself. If you want to learn more about the Caro Kann, you can check out my Caro Kann playlist down below, or you can check out this Caro Kann video that appears over here for another interesting Caro Kann game. And if you want to check out the previous episodes of the speedrun, check out the playlist down there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in one of those videos.